Catch the wave. You're listening to Wave Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
What's going on, everybody? Hey, welcome to the Afternoon Praise here on Motivation Monday. Yes, it is Monday, and guess what? I am celebrating you because I know that you put some plans together, you put some goals together, you put some must-dos together that have to take place and happen by the end of the week, because you're taking your life to a whole nother level. You are doing something great. So I celebrate you for executing the plan. But now it's time to put the plan in motion. It's time to put the execution in motion. And I thank you for joining me here on this Motivation Monday. And today, our topic is, you can't recover what you won't confront. Yes, we going deep today, people. We going deep. And again, recovery begins with reality. Every person listening to me today is recovering from something. A business that didn't work, a failed relationship, a missed opportunity, a financial setback, a disappointing diagnosis, dreams that feel delayed. Everybody is recovering from something. And recovery is one of the most common human experience. Yet most people misunderstand where recovery actually begins. See, they think recovery starts when the money come back, when the opportunity returns, when the relationship is restored, when the promotion finally happens. But one of the most powerful leadership stories in scripture tell us something completely different. See, David, the future king of Israel, returned from the battle of the city of Ziklag, expecting to see his family, his possessions, and his men settle back into normal life. But if you know your Bible, if you read your Bible, it didn't happen that way. And for people who don't read the Bible, guess what? It didn't happen that way. See, instead, David found smoke. His men came back to smoke. The city had been burnt to the ground. Their wives and children were taken captive, and everything they built was gone. It was gone. It was out of here. And check this out. And the people who had followed David through victories, the people that David looked out for, that followed David in the valleys, became overwhelmed with their grief, because it's going to happen. People around you are going to become overwhelmed with their grief, that they began talking about killing David, killing a leader, killing a friend, killing a family member. But imagine standing in the middle of that moment. No plan, no answer, no certainty, just ashes. And this is when the Bible records one sentence that changed the entire story. Just this one sentence right here. But David encouraged himself in the Lord God. Yes, I'm going to read that again. That sentence said, but David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. And that's 1 Samuel 30, verse 6. I want people to notice what took place here. Just notice this, people. Just notice what took place. See, David didn't recover his family first. He didn't recover his possessions first. He didn't recover the city first. He recovered himself first. He recovered himself. See, that's the leadership lesson. Before you rebuild the business, before you repair the relationships, before you restore the vision, you must confront reality and recover the leader within. Because every recovery doesn't begin when your circumstances changes. See, recovery begins when you do. I'm going to say that again. Recovery begins when you do. Recovery doesn't begin when your circumstances changes. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. This show is going to be great. So tell a family member, tell a friend. Tune in to the Afternoon Praise with Demetrius L. Brown here on Wave Radio.
Join us on this heavenly journey, one song at a time, Wave Radio.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, and this is Motivation Monday. Yes, and we are talking about you can't recover what you won't confront. See, the truth doesn't care if you are ready. See, one of the greatest leadership's responsibilities is defining reality. And reality doesn't become less true because we ignore it. The number still matters. The relationship still is broken. The business is still losing money. The team is still disconnected. The opportunity is still passing by. And many people spend years negotiating with facts that never intended to be negotiated. See, they convince themselves that next month will be different. Next year will be different. Somebody else will fix it. But recovery begins when we stop asking, why is this happening? And start asking, what is true? Truth is uncomfortable, but denial is expensive. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
You're riding the waves of faith and grace on Wave Radio.
Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. Let's talk about ashes or data. See, David saw ashes, right? When he returned back home, the men returned back home, he saw the ashes. Let me tell you, just imagine walking into your own city and finding nothing but smoke. Everything familiar is gone. Most people will only see loss. See, David saw information. See, the ashes answered questions, and something happened. Security failed. It answered the question of preparation failed. The enemy found it open. See, great leaders don't just mourn what happened. They investigate what happened. See, business performs postmortems. Airlines investigate crashes. Championship teams watch game film after losses. Why? Because the ashes contain information. Stop looking at failure as identity. Start looking at failure as intelligence. The ashes are not your identity. They are your starting point. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wave Radio.
Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. Let's stop managing the optics. See, one of the biggest problems in leadership today is image management. And people spend more time looking successful than becoming successful. See, organizations hide problems. Families hide problems. Leaders hide problems. Businesses hide problems. Why? Because ego is expensive. See, David couldn't afford image management. His city was gone. His family was gone. His men knew exactly what happened. There was nothing left to protect except the truth. And sometimes losing everything removes the pressure of pretending. And that's where real leadership begins. See, don't manage the optics, manage the outcome. And we're not just talking about business leaders. We're not just talking about ministry leaders. We're talking about fathers, sons. We're talking about marriages. We're talking about family. You got to stop managing the optics and start managing the outcome. You can't fake it until you make it. That's not real. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wave Radio.
Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. Let's talk about ownership changes the conversation. See, victims ask, who caused this? Leaders ask, what do we do next? See, ownership doesn't mean you caused every problem. Ownership means you accept the responsibility for the response. See, you may not have caused the recession. You may not have caused the betrayal. You may not have caused your layoff. You may not even have caused the disappointment, but you still own the next decision. The moment ownership enters the room, excuses loses the authority. Every recovery finally has somewhere to begin. I'm going to say that again. The moment ownership enters the room, excuses lose their authority, and recovery finally has somewhere to begin. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wave Radio.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise here on Wave Radio. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. And let's talk about this. Let's say David didn't start with a strategy, people. He did not start with a strategy. What did he start with? Hey, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you what he started with. See, one detail in the story is often overlooked. Right? See, David didn't immediately gather his army. He didn't create a recovery plan. He didn't hold a meeting. He didn't defend himself against the people who wanted to stone him. He stopped. Then he strengthened himself. Then he sought God. See, great leaders understand something many people miss. You cannot make quality decisions with a chaotic mind. And most bad decisions are not made because people lack intelligence. They are made because people are emotionally exhausted. And sometimes the most productive things you can do is regain clarity before you regain momentum. Because panic creates activity. Wisdom creates direction. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wave Radio.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise here on Wave Radio. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. And let's talk about you still have more than you think. See, loss has a way of convincing us that we have nothing left. David lost his whole city, his family, his possessions, and the confidence of his own men. But if you look closer, he still had experience, he still had wisdom, he still had relationships, and he still had leadership. And the biggest one of all, he still had faith. He still had a decision to make. And one of the greatest exercises in recovery is to stop counting what you've lost and start inventorying what remains. And see, many people already possesses everything necessary to begin again. See, they're simply focused on what is missing. See, recovery starts when gratitude replaces scarcity. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Bringing the sounds of heaven 24/7, Wave Radio.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to Motivation Monday here on the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. And today we're talking about you can't recover what you won't confront. And the reality is your friend. Yes, the reality is your friend. Reality is your best friend. See, people spend a lot of energy, enormous energy, avoiding uncomfortable conversations. They avoid financial statements, medical reports, performance reviews, hard conversation, difficult decisions. Yet, reality is never the enemy. Reality is information. And see, we got to understand this. The sooner you confront reality, the sooner you can create strategy. And organizations that survive disruption confront data. Championship teams watch the film. Great businesses measure performances. And strong relationships have honest conversations. See, truth may hurt your feelings, but truth can also save your future. You cannot improve what you refuse to measure. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wave Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown. On this Motivation Monday, we are talking about you can't recover what you won't confront. And I want to talk to you about this right here. See, blame has a terrible return on investment. Yes, it do. Can I say that again? Blame, B-L-A-M-E, has a terrible return on investment. See, blame feels productive. It gives us someone to point at, someone to criticize, someone to hold responsible. But blame produces almost nothing. See, ownership produces options. The moment David accepted responsibility for leading forward, the conversations changed. He stopped asking, why did this happen? And he started asking, what do we do now? And that question changes everything, because the future is never built by people waiting for someone else to fix it. The problem is the future is never built by people waiting for someone else to fix the problem. You can't fix yesterday. You can only fix today in your presence. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wave Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise on this Motivation Monday here on Wave Radio. Hey, check this out. Check this out, people. Come closer. Come here. See, the first recovery is internal. And most people think recovery is external. See, recover the money, recover the business, recover the relationships. We got to recover the opportunity. But let's go to what David teaches us. See, David teaches us something different. The first recovery happened inside. He recovered perspective. He recovered discipline. He recovered faith. He recovered leadership, and everything else followed. You can rebuild a business. You can even rebuild a career. You can rebuild a brand. But none of it matters if you never rebuild yourself. See, recovery starts on the inside before anyone else ever sees it on the outside. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wave Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise on this Motivation Monday, and we are talking about you can't recover what you won't confront. And I want to say this. Stop waiting for permission, people. See, many people are waiting for confidence, waiting for certainty, waiting for someone to validate them, waiting for better conditions. See, David had none of those things. No, he didn't. Man, if we were David, we probably would have quit back then. Because see, David had ashes. He had uncertainty. He had grief. He had angry followers. See, and yet he moved towards wisdom instead of away from responsibility. He sought God, and God said, go get. And David went on faith. And see, leadership is not waiting until fear disappears. Leadership is acting in spite of fear. And recovery belongs to people who decide to move before everything feels comfortable. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wave Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. Let's talk about this. See, every person listening today has a Ziklag. See, a place where expectations burnt, a relationship didn't work, a business that struggled, a dream that felt delayed, a season that didn't go according to plan. You cannot erase what happened. You cannot pretend that it didn't hurt. You cannot rewrite yesterday, people, but you can decide what happens next. And David stood in the ashes and made a decision that changed the rest of his story. He refused to become a victim of his circumstances. He strengthened himself. He sought wisdom. He accepted responsibility. Then he moved. And that's where recovery always begins. Not when the money comes back, not when the opportunity returns, not when everyone starts believing in you again. See, recovery begins the moment you stop managing the past and start leading the future, because you are not defined by the city that burned. You are defined by the courage you built again. And that's why this week's theme is so important. Recovery starts with you, people. It starts with you. Recovery starts from within. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wave Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, and this is Motivation Monday. And we are talking about you can't recover what you won't confront. And see, the cost of looking away. We all have looked away. We all have looked away. Yes. Don't say, no, I haven't. I never looked away. Yes, you did. You looked away. See, there's a cost in looking away. See, there is a reason doctors order tests. There's a reason accountings, they reconcile your books. There's a reason pilots use checklists before every flight. Because small problems ignored become large problems experienced. And most crises are not created overnight. They're accumulated one ignored conversation at a time, one delayed decision at a time, one overlooked detail at a time, one avoided truth at a time. See, leadership is the discipline of looking directly at what everyone else hopes would disappear. See, you cannot heal what you refuse to diagnose. And the longer you postpone confrontation, the more expensive recovery becomes. See, the truth may be uncomfortable today, but avoiding it is guaranteed discomfort tomorrow. People, recovery starts with honesty. And you can't recover what you won't confront. This thing is real, people. It's reality. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wave Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
If you're just tuned in, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. And if you miss any part of this show, you can go back and listen to it on my podcast at 6:15. Preferably you go to my YouTube channel, but you don't have to. You can go to any platform you listen to your podcast on. And today's show, we're talking about you can't recover what you won't confront. Let's talk about your identity is not your circumstances. See, David's city burned. His family was taken. His leadership was questioned. His own men spoke of killing him. See, those were facts, but they were not his identity. And one of the greatest mistakes people make is allowing temporary circumstances to become permanent labels. I failed. I lost everything. I'm not good enough. I'm finished. No, those are not your identity. See, you experienced failure. Yeah, you experienced a loss. Yeah, you experienced some disappointment. We all have. See, those events happen to you. They do not define you. And see, and leaders separate identity from circumstances, because once identity is lost, recovery becomes much more difficult. Never confuse where you are with who you are. And again, I'm not just talking to business leaders, ministry leaders. I'm talking to people who have families. You got to run your family, husbands, wives. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wave Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
You're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown, here on Wave Radio. Let's talk about this. Stop negotiating with reality, people. See, some people spend years arguing with facts. See, the debt is real, the market changed, the relationship ended, the opportunity passed, the business model stopped working, yet instead of adapting, they negotiate with reality. See, if I ignore it long enough, if I stay busy, or if I just believe harder, leadership requires something different, people. It requires intellectual honesty. See, reality is not your enemy. Reality is your starting point. And every great comeback begins with an accurate assessment. See, recovery starts where excuses stop. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wave Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
If you just tuned in on this Motivation Monday, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise, and we are talking about you can't recover what you won't confront. See, what still works? What still works, people? What still works? I'm glad you asked. Even if you didn't ask, I'm going to tell you. See, one question can change your life. Not what did I lose, but what still works. What still works? Or what relationships still remain? Or even, let's go, what knowledge remains? What skills do I still have? What other opportunities do I have? What values remain? Ask yourself, what experiences remain? See, David's city burned, but his ability to lead did not. His courage remained. His wisdom remained. His faith remained. His decision-making remained. The enemy took many things, but it didn't take everything. See, sometimes recovery begins when you stop staring at the ashes and start counting the assets. I'm going to say that again. Stop staring at your ashes, because recovery begins when you stop staring at the ashes and start counting your asset. What do you have left in you? What do you have left around you? Okay, you started the business. This business didn't go the way you wanted to, but guess what? You had the you had the mindset to start the business. What do you have left for you so that you can start your recovery? Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I'm your host, Demetrius L. Brown.
Catch the wave. You're listening to Wave Radio, your home for uplifting gospel music.
If you just tuned in, guess what? My time is up. It's been great. It's been lovely. I thank you for joining me on the first day of the week, Motivation Monday. And today we were talking about you can't recover what you won't confront. And I hope that this show have blessed you. I hope that this show gave you the tools, the fuel to say, okay, hold on. I got to confront. I got to confront what's holding me back, because it's time for me to start recovering. But let's go here. Then before I leave you, let me leave you with this. See, there's a phrase that has shaped leadership for generations. Face the fact, but never lose faith. I'm going to say that again. Face the facts. Face your facts, people, but don't lose your faith. See, David stood in front of a burned city. He could have blamed. He could have complained. He could have defended himself. But he did not. See, and David could have quit, but he did not. Instead, he did something every great leader eventually learned to do. He accepted reality without surrendering hope. See, that is the difference between survivors and rebuilders. See, the survivor asks, why did this happen to me? The builder asks, what can I do from here? Every organization that recovers, every family that heals, every entrepreneur that start again, and every leader that grows begin with one decision: to stop avoiding reality, to stop protecting the ego, to stop blaming yesterday. And they make the decision of start taking responsibility for tomorrow. See, you're not responsible for everything. You're not responsible for everything that happened to you, but you are responsible for what happens next. So don't run from the ashes, study them. Don't hide from the truth, build on it. Don't wait for recovery to find you. Become the kind of leader who starts it. Because recovery doesn't begin when circumstances changes. Recovery begins when you do. Hey, you're listening to the Afternoon Praise. I thank you for joining me on this Motivation Monday, and I will catch you tomorrow on Triumph Tuesday. I am out of here. Peace.
Stay tuned and stay blessed here on Wave Radio.